It is 5:31. This is the April 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Economic Development Commission. We have in attendance myself, Cheryl Fourier, Jeff Hartman, Wendy Russell, Jean Wilczynski, Mona Colwell, Scott Smith. In excused absence is Joe Kamian, and our clerk, Jen Diamato. Welcome. If anything's happening up there. First order of business is public comment. We have no one in the room itself. And if there's anyone online that we're just not seeing, I'm in a waiting room on this. It would be 860-304-3291. I'm in a waiting room, like there's music.
Come up and say.
I think it's the wrong meeting. We're just gonna keep going.
You want me to try to join? See what happens.
Sure, if you want to join. Maybe I have the wrong information on the agenda. But we're supposed to have the same meeting ID every time. Maybe it got changed.
What ID did you do? What is that?
Phone conference ID 139-548-155.
Well, the meeting IDs too.
Oh, meeting ID ends in 273.
Yep, it seems right.
I don't know what to do.
You don't show up as waiting here.
Do something different.
Do you wanna go back in?
That's awkward.
Okay. Oh, and you're gonna mute that. Okay.
Gene should
I'm
come.
trying to
Okay, thanks, Jean. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Best of the best.
Very quickly, I'll repeat, this is the April 2nd, 2025 Economic Development Commission meeting. In attendance, we have Wendy Russell, Jeff Hartman, Jean Wilczynski, Mona Colwell, Scott Smith, myself, Cheryl Fourier, excused absence, Joe Kamian, and our clerk, Jen Diamato. Thank you. We have no members of the public here in the room. If there are any members of the public on calling in remotely, this is your chance to share public comment. If you have public comment, unmute yourself. Hearing none, we will move on to approval of the March 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the March 5th meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the March 5th, 2025 meeting minutes.
All right, Jeff, and Wendy seconds it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the March 5th, 2025 meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any
No.
abstention?
She's got Jean in, and so I'm not Jean, I'm staying.
Hi, Martha, would you please mute yourself? Okay.
Can't see who's in the meeting. That's interesting.
Well, I have our camera off. Okay.
No, I mean like who was online. Yeah.
Okay, next up, we have some statistics that Scott pulled together for us. You have that in your packet of information I passed around. And I know, first of all, thank you, Scott, for pulling this together. And I printed out for you what Scott just sent for 2024, but also last year's 2023, so that you can compare.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty close from 2023 to 2024. You know, the population went up a little bit. But this is all part of this Connecticut Data Collaborative. And I think last year when we were doing those metrics, I got on their email list, so they send me data like every month.
That's great.
So this month was this housing data for the whole state. So that's why I figured it might be useful to distribute to this group, just to kind of look at the housing profiles for this town and how it compares to the rest of the state. So I don't really have much to talk about. I mean, just basically what they send me. We only have 2% that's subsidized. I don't know what the affordable housing laws and all that. Jeff, do you know that? Like, we have to have a certain percentage, right?
830G requires I don't know what the date is, a target of 10% of the housing must be affordable. So that's just an overall state requirement. There's many towns, including Old Lyme, are below that.
Right.
Does anyone have observations looking this over? I'd like to share at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, the affordability, almost $28 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. So that basically takes 2 people. The minimum they're making minimum wage or something like, close. What is it? $15, $16 an hour now. So it's 1.5. So it's tough out there for renters. Not a lot of supply. And if you look at page 4, the renters, that magic threshold, 30% of your income for housing costs. I can't really tell by scanning this, but there's that number seems to be moving up, and I think up top, renters burdened by the cost of housing, so it's 52%.
As opposed to 25% for the overall at the top one, right? Says people burden 25% of cost. So the renters are more burdened, obviously, if 52% of renters, but only 25% of overall
So
households.
housing continues to be an issue.
Yeah, the comparisons they make are for the lower Connecticut Valley and then the whole state.
Right, and that would be the River Cog, right? Lower.
So River
Lower,
Valley, yeah.
yeah. Another interesting set of statistics comes out of the United Way, which are the I had the cost, how much it costs to live comfortably in a town, meaning it's not a burden to put food on the table and to pay rent and that sort of thing. It's escaping me the name of the study.
Living wage concept.
Yeah, but it's got an acronym name, that woman's name.
Is it Alice?
Alice, thank you. The Alice report. I encourage everyone to look at that, and Old Lyme, I think it's surprising how much it costs in Connecticut in general, for young families starting out, to afford to live without a lot of burden. It's something to keep in mind for the
It's
future.
not cheap to live here.
It is not for sure.
To live anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been cheap my whole life.
Okay.
Well, it's cheaper other places than here, because I haven't lived my whole life in Connecticut.
Neither have I.
So,
But what you swap in other places, you swap here. So like we lived in Arizona, I think it would be cheaper there.
you get more house, less yard, you have to buy your water, you have to pay for your sewage, you have to pay for your air conditioning, so you don't pay for heat. So, I mean, it's all bargaining, really. It's where,
Trade-off. Yeah.
it's a trade-off. We lived in Vermont and most men didn't live there. Well, they would on the weekends, but they had to get jobs in New York or Boston. So it might have been cheaper to live there, but then they have to go somewhere else for a job. So everything is a trade-off. Just my whole life, it has not been affordable to live. My husband and I were talking tonight, not great homes in Rhode Island, in Cranston, Rhode Island, selling for $550,000, $600,000, and they're 1,200 square foot ranches. It's very expensive out there.
Any other thoughts or insights on the data provided? I'd like to find a way, I know we've talked about this before, I'd like to find a way to take some of these highlights and put them on our town webpage as sort of a dashboard. I think that would be really helpful to a lot of people. You can work toward that.
Well, these reports, they're sent to you or they're?
No, they're on a website,
on the
but
website?
they send me an email saying, here are new housing.
Right,
Data.
We've updated it.
Yeah.
For this year or whatever.
And then what happens is they show the state and you just click on a town and it gives you the report.
I wonder if you can pull in a spot that's pulling it in, so you don't have to worry about updating it, but it's like a wide.
Oh, right. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's this Connecticut Data Collaborative. It's a group. I don't know if they're quasi-public or
Yeah.
what they
Data
are.
Haven or something.
Yeah, there's so much data on housing, it's hard to consume it all and what to look at and it's all kinds of studies. Look, I know we don't want to do anecdotal, but I'm doing 10 build for CT apartments in my phase 2. And that have been up for 11 days. I have 8 rented already. There's just such a need for the apartments. There's so many programs out there. The state wants to help. This Build for CT is a pretty good program. It's low interest money for folks who build apartments. So it's a good program. The state has.
Yeah, we're turning a hotel into apartments in New Haven
Yeah.
and they're going like hotcakes, like
Really?
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really that great.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere recently that Connecticut is at the top of the list of states that are lacking the most
I think
housing.
it's number 5.
Is it 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
A survey came out that lack of housing.
Okay. Anything else on this
That's a
statistic?
positive note.
Yeah. Anything else on the statistics? Scott, thank you
Yeah.
for sending those out.
And then I sent out the new businesses stuff. So
Right, yeah.
that's another thing that comes to me once in a while.
Mhm.
So
And I noticed on there, a couple of businesses, I think they changed ownership.
Hmm.
So that's considered a new business as well, but some of them I didn't recognize. So that was
I
good
think a lot of them are
information.
home-based.
Yeah, yeah.
But the interesting thing is when they register it, they get an email. So I don't know, like we want to start gathering those, if we want to reach out to everybody.
Yeah, I thought that was very good that we could have the email addresses, because I don't think that we've had that before.
Right.
So that same website, you can go on and you can look at, all the registered businesses in Old Lyme. It's not just the new ones. It's all through the Secretary of State, yeah.
I think you almost have to now.
Yeah,
They,
that's
they're-
good though.
I think, yeah, they started doing that.
Because when we first started to make the email list that we were trying to put together, we didn't have all their emails.
Yeah, that's really valuable to have those email addresses.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, I can pull the whole list.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll pull the whole list, send it to you.
that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next, oops, is, updates. Okay. Okay. Real estate update. We don't really have a real estate update, but a couple of businesses have been impacted by real estate changes lately. It was announced yesterday by the owners of Homeward Collective that they are moving to Essex because their building, along with the red building next to it, which is considered one, it's owned by the same owner.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
going up, is on the market. And the owners, Homer Collective, shared that their lease was modified, so they had to make a quick decision, and they're moving to Essex, which is disappointing because they're a great little business and a lovely fit for that location. And they've been a good community member. They, participated in Make Music Day, and they've wanted to be involved in Midsummer and Light Up Old Line. So, disappointing to lose them. And, there was some confusion after our last meeting. Someone reached out to me and said that in the minutes, we said that the Caramontes sold both the Hideaway and the Stumble Inn, but they had only sold the Hideaway. No, I've confirmed for whoever's paying attention to our meeting, the Caramontes sold both businesses for what it's worth. And we congratulate them on their retirement. The Chocolate Shell has changed owners. So we're happy for that new owner, who is someone that works at the Chocolate Shell. And just lost my notes on this. Trying to think, there's something else on Halls Road. The ice cream shop is still for sale.
On Lime Street, you mean?
On Lime Street, thank you. And I think that was it for real estate.
And now confirm, so the rules on Lime Street are if someone buys the Homeward Collective in the building next door, they could continue a business if it was the same business that's currently there.
The same type of business.
Same type of business.
Yeah. And I am not really versed on that.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
specific wording. I believe it could be retail again. I don't know what other type of establishment it can be. But it's otherwise zoned for residential. So it would go back to residential possibly. Same with the ice cream shop. And yeah, those two buildings at 25 and 27.
So if the ice cream shop, which now has been residential, could it go back to a shop?
I don't know. I mean, that's going to be
Is-
something for the zoning commission and the historic district commission. Okay. Eastern Regional Tourism District, Wendy.
I brought some of the statistics from the tourism meeting I thought might be interesting to everybody, but I don't have copies of it, so I'll just kind of go through it a
Oh,
little
right,
bit.
right. Okay, good.
Interesting that Connecticut has grown from 20 to 24, 2.5% in population. And that's higher than New Jersey, Mass, Rhode Island, and New York actually went down, which makes sense, right, from COVID. Connecticut has has 175% more people as a drive-in place to visit. And there's a few other things. There's been a 10% increase in tourism, which I think is going in tourism-related jobs, which I think is going to be changing very soon. Traffic into Connecticut is about 12.5 million for the year of 24, well, February to February. As when during COVID, it was about 13 million. No, wait, 12 million, it's back to COVID times. And from 23 to 24, it was 13.5 million. So it's kind of interesting. We're the top drive-in state in New England, 44%. as compared to New York at 18, Massachusetts at 10.9, New Jersey 4.2, and Pennsylvania and Rhode Island 2.8. So it's a drive-in market, and that's what the tourism is really targeting right now, state.
And by drive-in, you mean people coming from Massachusetts
Right.
or driving into, literally driving into the
As
state?
opposed to flying in,
Yes,
because
Yeah.
which
or
makes
in-
sense because
Yeah.
our airport's small,
Yeah.
right? So
yeah, yeah. So it's pretty interesting. So, you know, all the marketing goes towards that type of business, but it does make up quite a bit of business. And then if the tourism, they're trying to take away the marketing dollars and they're not going to support it. I don't know if the governor's going to do it, but we're trying to get 3% of the occupancy tax for hotels and or restaurants.
Mhm.
But
I'm not gonna.
I don't know if they're going to do
No.
it. So that could all change and it's all going to go away. So we won't
Is everyone familiar with that occupancy tax issue? The state, when you rent in a hotel,
Mhm.
you pay an occupancy tax,
Mhm.
and that is a state tax, but it doesn't go back. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I may be out
Oh,
of,
you're right.
it doesn't go back to the tourism industry.
right,
It
that was
gets diverted
discussed.
elsewhere.
That was actually just
Mhm.
discussed at the regional
And it's like
economic development
12%.
commission too.
I think it's even higher now. I think it went up.
And tourism jobs, so maybe at a future meeting, you can keep us posted on that budget with how that's going to affect us most immediately, thinking about like, will they staff the Welcome Center in Westbrook? That's off the table.
That'll go away.
That'll go away.
They did talk about that.
So if you maybe next month can give us an idea of what other sort of things will affect us.
Yeah, I can find out for sure.
You know, maybe it's support of ctvisit.com, or I don't know.
Well, we won't have
Tourism jobs.
a CVB. Connecticut Visit, well, in downtown Hartford, we have a CVB that goes
Visit
out
Bureau.
and brings in business or, you know, kind of takes calls if anybody's looking to bring a big group to the area or whatever.
Mhm.
So that will probably dissolve more than likely.
So now it's down to these individual chambers like Mystic Chamber, Old Saybrook Chamber, or Old Saybrook, Old Lyme Chamber.
Right, there's not gonna be one entity for, you know, it's gonna be tough for the hotels. And well, for everybody, really. Yeah,
Yeah, the state and their regional districts, they hustle quite a bit trying to get tourists into Connecticut and to places like our museum and to our other attractions. And I know the Florence Grizzle Museum, you know, we're talking about drive-in traffic and changes in tourism right now. And, you know, they would have bus tours from Germany come to the museum and other local places. So all of this kind of trickles down to our local attractions for sure. Okay. Any other questions on regional tourism? Okay, thank you, Wendy. Rivercog. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over marketing and outreach efforts. Should have been Rivercog next. Why don't you go ahead with
Okay,
Rivercog?
so the last meeting, and I don't have an agenda for next week's meeting yet, but the main topic was a presentation by Connecticut Main Street. I think that's their name. Let's make sure I'm giving the right name here. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, right.
Connecticut Main Street, and there was some talk about perhaps having a regional membership. I think locally Deep River is a member of Connecticut Main Street. So I just took one of the slides. I thought it was interesting. It shows sort of like their approach, very colorful, you know.
Yes.
We didn't get the whole presentation, which I'm assuming will be in the minutes, but we haven't gotten those yet. But it's just interesting, you know, what they look like, what makes a vibrant, downtown center and, so just some different areas that they look at in terms of how to, what makes up a vibrant community, really. And to be honest, it's probably more than just a main street, but a community at large,
Right.
So that was,
Very
that was the main topic of our last meeting, and I don't remember what the topic is for next week, and we haven't gotten the agenda yet, so.
And you mentioned that Rivercog might be joining CT Main Street.
They were considering a regional membership that would allow all the communities to have some ability to work with them. And I guess they do come in and do some pretty, involved work with you about, your main street or your, main area, which would be an interesting thing to have. And I think she asked that Deep River maybe will come and present to us what they're doing at a future meeting. So
Huh.
it would be pretty interesting. And there were a couple of other towns, but I didn't write them all down, so I don't remember. And the only other thing I would say, just a quick note on the local chamber, there was a ribbon cutting last Friday morning at the new salon over by the Hideaway, which was a fun little gathering.
Yes, Salon.
Paragon.
Oh, Paragon.
Yep.
I'm glad you could attend that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was worked out quite well, and it's just down the road from my office. So
Any other news from the chamber we should know?
I don't think so. I think,
They're having this marketing series that starts next Tuesday for next couple of weeks over there. And they're having a woman from.
Miranda Creative.
Social media outreach. I thought it was an interesting series of meetings that maybe we could repost or recirculate. They have it's free for members of the chamber, and there's a modest fee. If you're not a member, you have to register in advance.
And that starts next week or so?
I think the 8th is the first session. It's somebody from Miranda Creative that's doing that. So that came out in email today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw it, but I didn't register.
Miranda Creative people are pretty good. They're not
They
on
are
the
very
team, but they're pretty good.
Saybrook is their client as well.
Yeah. So they do some nice things.
They do. They're very, they're strong in the tourism industry.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Marketing and outreach. I reached out to the owners of the Carousel because they're celebrating 100 years of the Carousel itself this year. The business isn't 100 years old, but the Carousel merry-go-round is 100 years old. So we're going to meet once they're in Connecticut for the season, but they are thinking about special things they can do, some special merchandise. We're talking about publicity for them, and they might participate in some town activities to promote the Carousel, which I think is a great idea. Other marketing, explore Old Lyme website. I find that whenever we do something new, it gives us good traffic on the whole website, which is kind of how websites work. But now that the America 250 committee is up and running, and they have blog posts about different things going on. David Ruggles, who's a person of note, Lyme history. There's a blog post that went up about him on a Saturday, and that Saturday we had like 100 visitors to the website. So anytime we can add an element, like Midsummer Festival always bumps up our numbers quite a bit. So something coming up through that committee is Two Lights for Tomorrow, which is April 18th. And it is One If by Land, Two If by Sea. It's Paul Revere's ride to Lexington. 100 men from Lyme marched to Lexington from here. And it's interesting when you see the list of names. They're you know, very familiar names of streets around here and families around here. So everyone is encouraged to put on 2 lights in their home that night. And municipal and business buildings will also be encouraged to do so. Tricky part is it's also Good Friday. So many buildings are closed that day, don't have staffing. But you know, it's a nice way to encourage everyone to participate in the next 15 months of celebrating the country's anniversary. And quick note, Mr. Comstock was approved by zoning to have his business at 99 Halls Road. So that was a good plus. You're going to start to see some activity there. I think his goal was to get some lily plants in before Easter. So they're working hard to level out that land. There's kind of a drop. You know all about this. Yeah, he was at the meeting as well. So doing lots of fill over there.
Yeah, the film, yeah, he's bringing them.
So we are happy for Mr. Comstock to have that move ahead. What else can I tell you about marketing? Old Lyme Arts District is putting on Make Music Day again, June 21st. I think this year that's a Saturday, which will again be the stroll on Line Street from 5 to 7. And we will, if we like, we can have a little outreach table out front of Town Hall that evening. And then Midsummer Festival will happen again this year, the last Saturday of July, which is Saturday, July 26th. And we can start to think about our outreach table. We've already been guaranteed a spot on the front lawn of the Lyme Art Association. I think that's it for marketing. Shoreline Gateway Committee. You just get to that page. Joe sent in his report. He said at the last Shoreline Gateway Committee meeting, they discussed blight and implementing, you know, how to proceed with pursuing an ordinance to prevent blighted properties. And the Finance Committee has approved the proposed Shoreline Gateway Committee budget. And the funds will mostly be directed at engaging a planning consultant. And those solicitations will happen once the budget is approved. Soundview sewer construction bids have been received and are under review. Okay. And Rooney's Package Store remains under family ownership, but has transitioned to a younger generation. So that is the Soundview Gateway report. And next up, we have Halls Road Improvement Committee.
Nothing to report except for the meeting next Wednesday, the continuation of the earlier meeting. So I think we'll find out what happens next week.
Very good. Okay, next up. Jeff, I want you to hop in as much as you're wanting to on this next section of the economic strategic plan. Do you want to speak to, even though it's a draft, what we're hoping to?
Yeah, I mean, as when we
This
last
is a-
got together, it's still draft because we're waiting the outcome of Halls Road. So, you know, there are some aspects that I think of the plan that will probably make it to the final review, the promotion and marketing. So we discussed talking about this, and are there some initial tasks under the promotion and marketing that we can work on and set some deadlines. You know, from a highlights perspective, we want to support the town's economic strength, promote Old Lyme as a great place to live, visit, and work. You know, we want to improve the visitor experience with other Old Lyme stakeholders to pursue a unified wayfinding sign strategy, support property owners, attracting businesses that thrive in their location, create online materials and resources. So those are kind of the big chunky items there's some subtopics after that. So I think Sean and I wanted to start with this group, with us, and can we think of some tasks to support each of these three main initiatives? I mean, these main subpoints on the promotion of marketing, and put some deadlines to them. So, and we want to make this strategic plan a living, working document. We don't want to finish it, improve it, put it on the shelf. We just want to make sure, we want to keep going on our efforts. I think, under Cheryl's leadership, we've made great strides in putting this together. So, kind of thinking about each one. So on the top one, to support the town's economic strength, we have build our story of place, placemaking, communication strategies. So let's kind of talk about, what do we have right now? What's working? Where's an opportunity for enhancement? I know we've traditionally, I think, done a lot of print. Should we be moving to online? Is there a digital program Monday that maybe we could go to? What's our social media strategy? New ideas to improve attractions to our town, things like that. So that's kind of a big thing, before we get into signage and things like that. So maybe tonight focus on the top part and the core. What are we doing? What's working, and where are the opportunities as we look in 25 and what beyond? So, Cheryl, you've been the brand architect to date of a lot of this. So, what do you think has worked well, and where do you see opportunities?
I just want to pull up the website very quickly.
Is there any way we can minimize that window and put it up on the? Can we do that as well on there?
Sure, how to do that. I'm just going to reference something very quickly on here, though. So building our story of place, utilizing placemaking communication strategies. Placemaking is really about understanding what is unique about Old Lyme, and then thinking about who that will matter to in terms of visitors, potential residents or current residents, and businesses that want to do business here. And the uniqueness of Old Lyme that we've focused on as a brand has been nature, art, ecology, and small town feel. So on the homepage of Explore Old Lyme, we have this little 2-liner: come for our great hiking, kayaking, and gallery hopping. Stay for our small town feel. So I guess, and I would say we do 3 things that I can think of. We have the Explore Old Lyme website. We have 4 things. We have the Explore Old Lyme website. We have the brochure that we go through every year. It's time to reprint these again. This is at Town Hall, sometimes the library. Flowgriz goes through a lot of them. I've had, I think it was either the Flowgriz or Old Lyme Inn. They were putting together welcome packets for people coming to a wedding, and they wanted these to go into those packets about a year ago. So we've got the brochure, the website, outreach, which is us sitting at Midsummer Festival or other, opportunities that we could identify, and then being on things like ctvisit.com. I don't know is there any other place I would Old Lyme Arts District, those like the museum and all, they will link, they have our logo on their homepage, and we get a lot of reference activity from there.
Does the chamber have us?
We're members of the chamber. We must have, that's a good question.
Do we have those brochures at the chamber too? Or will they? No.
We did at one point, and I haven't checked on the status of this.
I don't recall. I was in there a couple of weeks ago for the Chili Fest Day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't See.
Okay. Jean, would you just check and see if, how many we would provide them? We'd have them in the Welcome Center at Westbrook.
Bring them to Sabre Point in too.
Do they still have their rack?
But they'll take them behind the front.
Oh, okay. Got it. Good. Paper.
I'll walk down.
If they do have a rack, then you can't because they pay for that.
Yeah.
It's through distribution.
Yeah. They were one of the few that weren't part of CTM. So I used to bring them stuff
Oh, you
all the
did?
time,
Okay.
yeah, but I think a lot of places are getting rid of
Yeah.
paper. They don't like the paper getting
Mhm.
tossed around. But Saybrook Point Inn is a great idea. Old Line Inn, okay, so a good distribution strategy. Old Line Inn. So we kind of need a restocking strategy for that, if you will, because I've brought them once and I haven't returned, so
You have a QR code on the back of that?
I was just gonna say.
yes.
Yeah. great.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. This is due for an update. We've had some businesses change. So, what if one of our
Who does
dead,
that? Who prints that for us?
I do this on Canva and, printing. I've used different printers for different things and we need to check on that CCM printer that they were talking about on Saturday. I have the business card somewhere to see what their price would be.
Okay, so is that our first deliverable?
So that's our, yeah, that's our first
By
little,
Such and such date, everybody look out and make any comments and then,
This is it, right?
is that it?
This is it.
That's the guy from.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so, I'll have the brochure updated by 4:30. Is that too late?
Right. Isn't enough time.
Yeah, because I just have to update a few things. Yeah.
and then.
And then meanwhile, if someone could check on prices. I don't hear any takers
Prices on what? Like
on printing.
What's the quantity you got?
I think I've been doing small quantities like 200, but we could probably do 500 or 600.
Where did you get them printed before?
I need to check. I've used a couple of different printers.
Do you
in-
want me to
in the
reach
area.
out to this guy?
Yeah, that would be great. I will, Jean, I'll send you the specs on this because it's like glossy paper,
Yep.
all that kind of thing. Send specs to Jean. And you'll check on his price. I'll pull up the price I paid last year. Okay, and then we can have it printed. We need them printed before Make Music Day, June 21st. So hopefully we can get them printed by May 20th. Printed by. And then perhaps we can divvy up a who's gonna take them to the chamber, who's gonna take them to Old Line Man, that sort of thing. All right,
I'll volunteer to deliver them.
okay, so that's a deliverable. The website can really. There are some things I need to update on that, so that's another. That's kind of ongoing. I'm always updating things on there.
When's the last time it's been? Like, is it due
A whole-
for a total refresh?
In theory, but I don't know how we would
Pay for it?
manage getting that done. Yeah, pay for it, or
Be
it's
allowed?
a huge undertaking.
Okay.
I mean, we're allowed to, we can decide, but we don't have the budget for it. And I just don't have the time
Okay.
to do it.
Did we ever get, speaking of the budget, what funds did we, I know if the budget is subject to approval, is there some kind of tentative approval that we receive for some amounts?
We received tentative the Board of Finance approved to go forward to the town meeting are the same budget we had this past year, which I don't have those numbers in front of me. So the budget that we've used for printing and chamber membership, a few other
The
things.
intern, some that didn't make it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And CT visit, I can check on that as well.
But maybe rather than updating the website, maybe it's better to spend our time and effort on the social media strategy. What do you think, Wendy?
Yeah, but do we have anybody that can do it?
No, I can't.
I can't do, no,
That's a lot.
it's a lot.
I mean, we'd have to, maybe we could get a kid, because they're the best at it.
The thing is, this is what I see constantly with social media strategies is people do it for a short amount of time and then they lose their person and it stops.
Right.
So it's like, as a commission of volunteers, the website is a lot. I mean, that is a social media strategy. And I know that you do a very good job of posting things too, when it's timely on People of Old Lyme and Old Lyme Community Forum and utilizing tools that are already out there. I think that if we were to do Facebook, LinkedIn, and all of the things, it'd be very difficult, very time consuming. It would be very short lived. And I don't see a benefit. I personally, that's just my opinion. Because it takes a long time to create a following and get people excited about it.
And there's rules for what we can do as far as being a town commission.
Right, we'd have to go before the Board of Selectmen to kind of gain permission to do it. I think we have a good set of reasons to do it. Mona, I see benefit, but I don't see how we could do it well.
You think?
Well, that's the thing is like,
Well,
yeah, I mean, I can't see a long-term benefit. I could see it.
Yeah,
No matter what. So our hands are tied.
I mean,
I think we should do it, but if we have the money, for sure. It's the best way, it's the best outreach.
oh, right.
And there are programs that you can do one post and it goes to all the
Mhm. Yeah,
platforms, so but
What are
Again.
what are we advertising? Our businesses?
you could
Yeah,
do the Midsummer's Festival, you could say, just come to a line, you could do
You could
whatever.
rotate through the business, the Black Hole Marina, it's
Yeah.
kickoff season, Black Hole Marina, you could have a rotating, you could post it Instagram, or you could tag them and then.
But
that would push
previously,
them.
we said we wouldn't do that because then we'd be highlighting certain businesses and not all businesses. So I feel this is counterintuitive to the plan that we had previously, where we wouldn't be highlighting certain businesses over other businesses.
you have a long-term if it's a strategic effort, then you make sure all 2 or 3 hardware stores get highlighted over the course of the year. All the restaurants eventually get highlighted. So you have a calendar and you make sure everyone gets highlighted, or that there's, you're highlighting, come down to Soundview for an evening with the family.
Well, that sounds lovely, but then shouldn't the businesses pay a fee and be paying the commission so that they get this free advertising? I mean, and isn't that what businesses do? They
We're
have-
just promoting online, really. You could take
Yeah.
a picture of the sunset for all you that matters, and you're getting followers. It doesn't really have to even be a business. It could be,
Mhm.
anything. You could take a picture of a tree.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
people, having fun on the beach, boats.
But your point about being consistent and having someone to consistently, you can't start and stop and only do the summer and let it die in the fall.
Right.
So if you're gonna do it, you have to commit to it.
Mhm.
And I think
And it's really important, and you should do probably 5 posts a week if you really wanted to, and not more and not less.
Mhm.
The more you do, then you lose your followers.
And we start to talk about our budget for next year in October and submit it in November. So perhaps the social media aspect is just, I don't want to kick the can down the road, but maybe it's something once we have a better sense of, our full plan,
It's really not as hard to do anymore. That's why, because of AI, you could just give me something to say about Old Lyme and it'll do a whole post for you. It's super easy.
Yeah. It's
That way.
attending to it.
It's doing it.
Yeah.
It's doing it and being, and to our point, consistent.
Photography, you know, all
Yeah,
of that.
taking pictures, getting content. That's what it's.
Sounds like we have to get permission first, right?
Yeah. Do we already have an accounts? Any accounts?
The town of Old Lyme has an account. It has a handful of accounts like Harbor Management, the Harbor Master has an account. Emergency Management, Parks and Rec would be the most comparable.
Facebook accounts and Instagram.
Right. And it has to be linked to a staff person in town hall.
So isn't that, so you're probably looking next year, so you have to get permission, then you have to get a budget, and then you start after that, right? So we have to get permission from the Board of Finance, the
I
Board
think
of.
Board of Selectmen,
Board of
but I'm
Selectmen,
gonna
you
check
have to
on
do
that.
So is
So
that-
Board of Selectmen for permission to do it, and then Board of Finance for money.
Funded,
right.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a multi-step
Yeah.
process. So is that the task? The task is to ask if we want to do that, if we want, as a commission, do we want to ask the Board of Selectmen to do this? I guess that's the first issue. If the committee doesn't want to do that, then we shouldn't, we're, right?
Spinning our wheels.
So
But in theory, we said we did, because we put it as part of our strategic initiatives.
So if we're doing this, you said the accounts have to be associated with an employee. Who would our employee be and what would their responsibilities be for that? I guess that's a
Or we'd have
question.
to get an employee.
Maybe in the first selectman's office or something.
And what would it be like? The same header as Explore Old Lyme? Would it be that, or would it be economic development?
I guess it's up to the commission.
Well, and I think this was put on a list, but I mean, I don't know if this was anything I would have voted on, so I don't think it was like agreed upon, it was like a working list of things that, I mean, because I mean, you obviously can hear, I'm not for it as a volunteer committee. I think it'd be a lot of work.
Well, it wouldn't, but that's what we're saying. We'll try to get someone to do it, not us.
But I think that's beyond, I think that the point of having this committee is that it's supposed to be, what do we want to do? Not what can we outsource to somebody else? Like, I just disagree with the idea. I just don't, I think that the website that you've done is fabulous. I think that trying to create a social media campaign for Economic Development Commission, I just don't think it's a great idea. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if you flip this thing over, it says our mission is to support the growth and sustainability of existing and future businesses, creating an improved quality of life. So, there's various ways to do it: print, digital, things like that. So, I mean, that's what our mission says. So,
Right, and we use outreach, we've got our website. I feel like we've had this conversation before in the last 4 years. I really feel like this is a repeat conversation because we've talked about this and then scrapped it to the side. Do you recall that?
I know we had to, I know the social media policy has been under development for town hall, so it was kind of put aside by that. But I think it is worth considering if we could do it, how we can do it, because it doesn't harm businesses in Old Lyme or bringing visitors in who want to spend money here or attracting people who want to buy houses here or people who say, oh, all right, I will lease that retail space because the town has a nice sense of place, and which can be beneficial to my business.
Well, what if the town of Old Lyme had a marketing strategy and we provided information to them that they could utilize to promote the town in general? So it wasn't like an EDC thing, but it was like a town thing.
That's kind of us.
Yeah.
That we're,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
state statute is economic development is kind of the marketing arm of the town, of
Right.
the
So we
municipality.
are the town.
We are the town. That's our role, to build.
Well, I haven't even looked, but does the town actively do social media?
There's a Town of Old Lyme Facebook page that is not, no, it's Town of Old Lyme.
Oh,
So it's the municipality itself.
Oh,
It's not a group.
Right. So the people of Old Lyme is,
that's just a.
That's a.
that
group.
is literally people of
People
Old
of
Lyme.
Old
Town of Old Lyme has one, and it's
they
not
update it?
terribly active.
No.
It's not consistent, I'll say that, but you know,
So-
it's a busy building, so.
So, so we just find out what the rules are in
Sure.
the town and then come back and say, okay, here's what the rules are. So we'll continue the conversation. Do we want to do this? Let's just find out what the rules are.
Yeah.
mean,
From the
We could
first
probably
selectman's
piggyback off theirs if they're not updating it.
We do. So if we had a ribbon cutting, which is a legitimate way of promoting a business in town, because we're doing you know, as a municipality, we're doing an event there. It goes on the Town of Old Lyme website.
And
Well, if,
Facebook page.
I'm sorry, Facebook page. Thank you.
if we were to have a marketing strategy, I would think that that would be the best place to put it instead of having another Facebook page or Twitter page or Instagram that people have to go to, because times are changing. I mean, people are really inundated with information.
Mhm.
And to have another Facebook group that people have to look to, people are already frustrated as it is because the news is so all over the place. So that would be
I
my
mean,
thing.
someone is doing this because the last post was March,
Of the traffic.
about the traffic. Yeah, pretty riveting stuff here, but, no, but they did the proclamation for with David Ruggles thing. So someone is doing this.
What if we find out the rules, get an update on the rules? Maybe Wendy, you and I could come up with, if we were to do this, what would we do? What kind of calendar would we have? What would we want to post? And then we'll propose it to the group. And if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Maybe have a real, like a social media strategy. Cheryl and Wendy. Wendy, are you coming
Yeah.
along for the ride on that? Okay.
Sometimes.
Okay. But I think it's important for us to realize that no one at this table can take it on. So that's important. Okay.
But we are a couple commissioners short.
I don't think that is going to make a huge difference unless there was someone who joined the commission in the next couple of months who was actually doing that as their job and wanted to just. But again, what happens? I think you said this, people do it for a while and
Right.
then they leave and no one
Yeah.
picks it up
Yeah.
behind them.
It has to be consistent.
So having a strategy and a plan should make that better.
Okay.
All right.
Cheryl and Wendy will come back with a social media strategy.
What about LinkedIn? That's LinkedIn.
I think that's part of the social media strategy.
So, okay, so you'll look at that as well.
Yeah.
Wrap that, all right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next one is pursue marketing ideas to attract visitors, and increase spending in town. And short focus includes Sound View. It's a year-round location. So do we have a current marketing calendar right now?
No,
So should we build a marketing calendar? Maybe
that's a great
try-
idea.
Pardon me?
That's a great idea.
Build maybe a quarterly event in town. So the Midsummer Festival, something in the fall, the winter could be the tree lighting at, on on Halls Road and then some kind of spring event.
Yeah.
And just, we could sponsor or we could lead.
Or have an outreach table at,
Well,
or are you thinking beyond that?
I mean, maybe kind of
The
coordinate.
the problem here is where can we do a tree lighting?
Well, the academy's been doing it.
There's a tree lighting already.
Oh, they do one in
Yeah,
the
So we already
academy.
have one event that we could get behind, so that.
Is that open to
midsummer.
everybody?
Yes,
It used
yeah,
to be here. And then they would have a little
Right, they
gathering
have
across the
Kids
street.
sing, the chorus would sing songs, stuff like that.
Middle school band played, not as well.
So we already have 2 out of the 4 seasons
I'd say
covered
that
with,
is
Midsummer
Comparative dance.
Festival
Oh,
is already a event.
yeah, make
We have
music day,
winter, So we need
light up Old Lyme.
we need a fall event and a, spring event.
Mhm. Easy as that.
Easy peasy.
Oh,
Did I tell you I'm getting 7 more hotels?
I have an idea.
Great.
We learned on Saturday,
Mhm.
Jeff and I, Jean as pension committee, Jeff and I attended the chairperson's Spring into Action on Saturday. Which was Martha's meeting for, hello, which meeting are you looking for? That is probably across.
Across the street at Center School.
No worries, no worries.
Oh,
The Bound for the Sound race. Soundview Commission is going to combine that with craft fair. They've been wanting to do the Osprey Festival, and that hasn't been really working out in terms of volunteers.
Mhm.
So they're going to, I think Bound for the Sound,
it used to be in September. I
Yeah.
don't know if it is.
I think
still.
it's still going to be in the fall, the way Frank was talking about
Yeah.
that. So.
I know it used to be in September when the
I missed that.
Education
Didn't
Foundation.
process that, I'm sorry.
No, you're right. He did mention
Yeah.
that. So
Could
the,
that be that could be a potential fall event, right?
Mm-hmm.
and that's an interesting, so the Bound for the Sound was originally the Education Foundation, which is now defunct.
Mhm.
And I think last year, or the year before, the fire department picked it up as.
It sounded like that, yeah.
Yeah.
The NYSB has their little race.
They have the race on Midsummer.
On Midsummer Day, yeah.
So we just need to find something that we can do for next spring.
What I would suggest is something to do with the opening of the Soundview business area. What I'm hoping to do is I had a blog on Explore Old Lyme, which gave all the opening dates of the businesses down there. Most of them are Memorial Day weekend. And I could post that on Town of Old Lyme's Facebook page and share it to people of Old Lyme and Community Forum and all of those. And that got a lot of hits. So I need to update that and put it out there for 2025. But maybe next year, consider some sort of spring opening. So not celebration, something, recognition of the summer season. So maybe we work with Shoreline Gateway Committee. We could have Joe maybe look into that.
Who controls the tree lighting?
Lyme Academy.
Yeah, it shifted from a Chamber of Commerce sponsored event to the Lyme Academy sponsoring it now for the last probably 5 years, right, Cheryl?
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts on those 4 sub bullets?
No.
So I can take this and expand it out with the tasks that we
Okay.
came up with to date. Thank you.
Do we want to take on the wayfinding signage? Add one more since we have a little time, or does everybody want to go?
You want to
Trump.
You
I know you'll tell me.
want me to lie to you? No, just kidding. Memorial Day parade is in spring.
Oh, that's true too. Yes.
That is a great event.
Well, I think the first step for the wayfinding sign strategy is to call a meeting of the different commissions that would be involved, which would definitely be Historic District Commission, Soundview Commission. Well, what I have there, public-
I need a brand handbook or some consistency agreement with everybody to roll out consistent look and feel sign.
So we have a former EDC member, Sherry Cody, who was the Economic Development Director for Guilford and Madison. She had half time at both places, and she did their sign strategy. So maybe perhaps first we consult with Sherry. We could have her come to one of these meetings, or,
Sounds like a great idea.
yeah, let's start with that. Invite Sherry to a meeting. Okay. All right.
All right, Wendy, it's enough for tonight.
Don't put it on me.
I like your honesty. I get it.
All right. That's a lot of
We
thinking.
do have to, everyone has a task, right? Or
Yeah.
a bunch of us do.
Mhm.
Books, that's my best. I can do that.
All right. Any new or other business? I don't have any.
Thank you for supporting Mark, and I know you went to the meeting and did that, so that was nice. of you.
Happy to do that.
You sound like you did yourself.
What
No,
meeting was
No,
that?
she knows someone who was there.
Which meeting?
Mark Comstock had a public
Oh,
hearing.
oh, the
for
zoning.
drainage
Okay.
galore.
Got
Yes.
it. Okay.
Okay, is anyone interested in making a motion to adjourn the meeting? Wendy.
I'll second
Jean is seconding it. I can never say that. Any opposing? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Scott, would you turn off the recording, and Jean, you can sign out. Thank you.
Hopefully it's recorded.